when you're younger, 19, I'm in college. I'm like, hey, you want to be in my band? Join my band. So I have all these people in my band and we're
Mhm.
having fun. But then we hit our first kind of snag, and there's someone in our band that just I found out really quickly that he has a problem with his temper, and but in a way that really affected the band negatively. So it's starting to kind of spread throughout the band, and he's having these, and so I'm feeling all this pressure because he's having these negative interactions with people, and sometimes he'll have these blow ups, in our band. And so, I'm the leader, but I'm the youngest person in the band. I was like, man, I was just trying to have fun.
All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to the Indie Unplugged. I, of course, am B. Vaughan,
Just Yohance.
and today we have an amazing guest with us. Today we have JoDavi, but of course, with every episode, let me introduce you to JoDavi, and then let's give him a warm welcome to the Indie Unplugged. So, JoDavi is a multifaceted singer-songwriter known for his soulful blend of R&B, pop, jazz, gospel, reggae, and funk, creating a unique cinema soul sound. Inspired by Tommy Sims' Peace and Love, his heartfelt lyrics and intricate melodies have captured audiences, earning him recognition at venues like the Hotel Cafe. JoDavi has opened up for Grammy Award winners such as India Ari and Anthony Hamilton, supported by Alex Isley, and shared stages with Jeremy Passion and La Russell. His latest album, Zion, has been premiered all over the world. Committed to authentic storytelling and advocating for organic diversity in the arts, JoDavi also leads the Zion Academy of Music and Arts, inspiring future musicians while continuously evolving his own musical style. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to JoDavi to the Indie Unplugged.
Thank you very much.
What's going on, brother?
Man, nothing much, man. Everything's good. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let me kind of give you the story. Give you the story,
Yeah,
Yohance,
give me the
right?
story.
Let
Yeah.
me give you the story. So, before I took a break and doing the interviews, right, to do some rebranding, which is how it became the Indie Unplugged. Uh, I had a young lady who would. I need to reach back out to her too because she was really good about providing quality
Mm.
guests, right?
Mhm.
And so her name is Olivia. And during this time, Olivia was like feeding me like tons of music creatives. Uh, I mean, that's how I got to interview Michael B. Sutton, Copy Cantrell, um, Kel Jean. Like, I mean, so many. Irene Rock, Katie Bell, Teddy Richards. I mean, there were so many people that she was like, "Hey, here's a lot of people that you can interview." And JoDavi was one of those. And this was actually right at the time when I was saying, you know what, I need to rebrand the show, figure out how to approach this whole thing differently. Because it was just under We Create Music TV. It didn't really have a name tied to it. And I wanted to have a name tied to the podcast and the interview. So, long story short, uh, I stopped all the interviews, right? And I was like, okay, let me rebrand. And I reached out to Olivia and was like, hey, I'm sorry. I know you're feeding me people, but I got to stop for a second. I got to figure out how this really is going to look. And so fast forward, this January, we were at the Recording Academy graduation, not graduation, ceremony for the Grammy Awards. And I get a tap from some guy. He was like, hey, I know you. I was like, you do? I was like, who? Like, hey. He was like, yeah, I know. He was like, what do you do? I said, well, my name is B. Vaughan. I have a channel called We Create Music TV. He was like, yeah, I was supposed to be on your show. I was like, oh, you were? I was like, well, how'd you find out about it? He was like, Olivia. I was like, say no more. I was like, say no more.
That's crazy.
Like, I know who she is. So, but now it's a pleasure to have my brother JoDavi on the Indie Unplugged to talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's funny. When I saw you, I knew your face from somewhere, and I because I watched a couple of your interviews, but then you look a lot like one of my uncles, my uncle Bertram. So when I saw it, I said, "That's not Uncle Bertram. He's not in Atlanta. He's in California, isn't he?" So I was like, let me just, because there's so many wires that were crossed, and I said, let me just go over there and talk to
Right. I mean, I am of that age, so I could be. Like,
him.
depends on how old your uncle is. Like, how old,
I don't even know. No,
if he's in like
no,
his
he's a good guy though. I mean, I was like, no, it'd be cool if it was him. So
right.
it
He's soon
was
to
it
be
was.
50. Then yeah, can't believe I'm about to be 50. That's crazy. But anyway,
Yeah.
man.
Yes.
But JoDavi, welcome to the Indie Unplugged once again.
Thank you.
So as with every guest that we have on the show, we kind of take a step back and talk about your musical journey up to the point where you are today. So if you can kind of give us some background of how you got into music,
Yeah.
family upbringing, as much as you would like to divulge to us and our audience.
Yeah. Of course.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. So my father's a musician, so he grew up playing piano. He grew up playing in church. He grew up playing classical music as well. So his background is church music, but he also went to college for piano performance. So he just he taught me a lot of stuff. Taught me how to play, taught me how to write. And we kind of grew up in a musical household. I'm the second oldest of six. I have five sisters,
Wow.
and we all, in some way, some form or fashion, we did music. We learned piano, and then we kind of branched out and did some other stuff. So I was the one that kind of took it the farthest, but definitely my dad's influence in teaching us music. But then also as we got older, my parents were really, my dad's a pastor, my mom's a teacher, but they were really open to us listening to different types of music. For them, their one rule for us was whatever new album we wanted to listen to, we had to give them the lyrics and had to check it out. So one of my earliest memories of listening to a whole album was when Lauryn Hill's Miseducation came out. I remember that my dad had us listen to that album, and at the time, we all, like, most of us had really long locks, so we had these long dreads, and so my dad was twisting my older sister's hair, and we were listening to her album, and I remember he was just uh, throughout the tracks, he would pause at different times and explain to us what she was referencing, what she meant by this, that, and the other, and
Mhm.
and so that was something that he always wanted to make sure he was very hands on with us, not to cut us off from it, but to make sure that we understood what we were listening to, um, and so that, I mean, for me, that's my earliest memory, and then just loving different styles of music. So I grew up getting into Indie RE, getting into different R&B artists, and I started venturing into different genres. My older sister really liked a lot of like alternative stuff, and so I was listening to that. And then when I went to high school, one of my friends introduced me to bluegrass, and I got deep into bluegrass for like a couple of years. I was obsessed with these different bands, and I even started my own bluegrass band at some point because I was just like, man, I just love this sound. I love like the feeling from it and everything. And But yeah, in college, I had like an R&B soul band. I had a bluegrass band on the side, and then but I went to college for music composition, so I was doing stuff with orchestras and strings and winds and that kind of stuff. So what I started to do was fuse the orchestral stuff with my band stuff. And once I started doing that, that was just, it was a wrap for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I love this whole vibe. And so that's when, shortly after that, we came up with that term cinema soul. That was that soulfulness, but with the cinematic sounds of the
Mhm.
orchestra and all that stuff. So yeah,
So what college did you go to? If you don't
I
mind.
went. Yeah, I went to the University of the Pacific. So
Oh,
that's in California. They had a jazz program called the Brubeck Institute.
Mhm.
Um, and so there were a lot of guys from there that I would hook up with and like collaborate with and do projects with and stuff. But yeah, it had a great music program. Really happy to have been there for sure.
So are you're based in North Carolina?
I'm based in North Carolina, yes, sir.
North Carolina. So born and raised in North Carolina?
No, no. I was born in California. Actually, I was born in San Francisco, but I was raised in a town called Stockton. So my
Mm-hmm.
whole life, I grew up in Stockton until we only moved out here in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
oh,
2020.
Wow. So how would you compare the different music scenes being in California and now being in North Carolina?
It's definitely different in North Carolina. It's where we are, we're close to Charlotte. It's Charlotte to me it seems like it's a newer it's growing here.
Hmm.
California, Stockton was like a hidden gem, but there wasn't a ton of stuff happening. There was some things going on. You just had to look for it. But we weren't far from, Sacramento or from the Bay or from LA, LA which is a few hours out south. So there was always stuff that was just drivable. Here in Charlotte, it's um it's a little bit hit or miss. I get a lot of stuff going up in Durham, so I drive up there a couple hours up north. But now, I mean, where things are now, I kind of frequent, California. I go back and either do some recording or, all my guys are still there. So if I want to do a few shows, I just fly out there. We do a few shows and I come back out here. But I'm meeting some really cool people. I mean, it's
Mm,
definitely for me, it's the relationships, and I'm meeting a lot of different people more on the business side of things, which has been helpful for me too.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's always just kind of curious. You're moving from one coast to the next, and then there's different styles of music, different influences of music
right,
from different perspectives on each coast. So
right.
so how does that influence your own? I know you talked about cinema soul and crafting that sound. Um,
Mm.
so how does your sound now compare to kind of how you started in the very beginning, based upon the influence of the place you live today versus prior?
Yeah. You know, I think there was always something. I always liked the cinematic sound. So even when I was a kid, I was my parents would tell me that I was drawn to the music from Beauty and the Beast. That was like my
Oh,
favorite,
I love you.
like yeah, it's to this day. I mean, it's still like my favorite. Some of my favorite music is from that movie. And they said that the song that I would try to play on the piano was from the beginning where the narrator is telling the story,
Hmm.
that whole like opening thing. And
You don't
um
beats Yohance. You don't know about that.
Come on now.
You don't know about
say
that.
again.
I said Yohance don't know nothing about.
He said,
He don't know
like,
nothing about Beauty and the
come on
Beast.
now.
So
I know about a bunch of stuff.
yeah.
Nah, but you're really dope on the piano. I just wanted to tell you that.
Oh, thank you.
Johnny,
Thank you.
Johnny
Yeah,
Thank
got
you.
skills.
yeah,
That's
I
yeah.
skills.
appreciate that. I appreciate this. Thank you, sir.
So the
No, thank
intro
you.
to Beauty and the Beast, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean that actually funny because I kind of play a little bit like that now, but that piano opening to the
mhm,
beginning, they said that I would after that we watched the movie, I must have been like 4 or 5. When we got home, I tried to play it on the piano. My dad was watching. He was like, he told my mom, he was like, no, he's a composer. He's a composer. And so for me, even though I don't remember that, still that is my favorite piece of the movie. Still, like if you ask me, like no,
mhm,
I something about the way that it opens up, it's just so it's like it's beautiful to me, but it's also like it draws you in,
mhm,
and so I try to like now. It was only around just after college that I was like, I want to really try to take that sound and put it on the stage. Like you don't have to necessarily go to a movie to get that feeling, but you can go to a show and still kind of get that soundtrack type of thing.
mhm,
Um yeah, so that's but yeah, so I'm being in Charlotte, I mean, there's a lot more there's a lot more classical there are a lot more classical musicians around Charlotte, which isn't a big issue for me because, I'll do sets with just me on piano with the string quartet and we'll have a good time. I do miss, having like my band,
mhm,
and so I hook up with other musicians around here, which has been fun. But it's always good to go home and play with the guys that you kind of grew up with, playing in church together and playing in school together, all that kind of stuff. You know.
It's interesting that you stated, of course, your parents are, your father's a pastor, mother's a teacher. Of course, they're believers,
Yes, sir.
and the because of most believers' homes, right? I'm a believer, you
Mm.
know, and from my perspective, most believers' homes, you're like, yeah, you can't listen to that.
Right. Right.
Like
Yep.
literally, I mean, there was a period of time, especially in my early conversion. I mean, I didn't become a Christian until I was an adult, though, right?
Mm, mm.
And when that took place, I was like, man, I'm getting rid of all the secular music, man. We're not
Right.
listening
Right.
to none of it. No Eminem, no hip hop,
Yeah.
no Dr. Dre, no Wu Tang Clan, none of that stuff. We're going straight Christian hip hop, cross
Right.
movement.
Right.
That's exactly
Right.
and then, I got to say my eyes was open were opened up. Um,
Hmm.
and to really understand, music and what music is about and how music can be used to communicate, emotions and thought and actions and behaviors and just love and all these different things. But there was that time when I was like, oh yeah, we ain't listening to no, we
Right,
listening
right,
to Kirk Franklin and Donnie
right. Yeah.
McClurkin all day. That's it. Fred Hammond. That's it.
Oh
You
Right,
will
man.
sit here and
right, right.
watch your cartoons. You're not watching secular cartoons. You're gonna watch Veggie Tales.
Red tails, right.
So,
Right, right,
so
right.
right. But it's one is probably surprising to some people that
Mm,
growing up in that type of Christian environment that your parents will allow you to listen to
mhm.
music with as Eddie Murphy would say, filth, flaw, and filth, right?
Hmm.
Right,
Cursing,
right.
all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things we will listen to.
Right,
How
right.
how did that impact you growing up?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
um one, it gave me a really it gave me a better appreciation for all the music in general. Like Fred Hammond's my favorite gospel artist. It's my dad's too. Like top
Uh,
of the line, like kind of underrated in my book. Like I feel like he should be getting more recognition for all the bangers he wrote and stuff. But um John P. Key,
John.
Clark Sisters, Commission, Winans, and I think that for me, and it's something actually that I'm only starting to realize around now. I've been watching these different documentaries, different artists, and some of the common threads are like, they grew up in a very strict household. I was just watching which one was it? Her name's escaping me. Uh she's the queen of disco, last she sang not Last Dance. What's her name?
Oh,
It's
Was it not? Man.
Donna Summer. Donna Summer.
yes,
Donna
yes,
Summer. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And it was similar, her family was her parents were super strict, and I think to me that's part of what contributes to going the complete other direction.
Mm,
It's like her career was, I mean, her music was amazing, but then her personal life kind of suffered. I think that part of that was because she was taught for so long that this stuff was forbidden, that when she discovered it, she like couldn't have enough. She
mm,
just kind of went there. For me, it's my parents, there's still stuff they wouldn't let us listen to, but we knew why, right? We knew the stuff that was saying in there, and like, no, but this hip hop is cool. Or this artist is talking about this kind of stuff. That's great. This is going to elevate, you guys, and this, it's just, and it's funny because even with gospel music, there are times when my dad would be like, I don't like that song. We're not listening to that. And
right.
so for us, it was like it's the content was the important thing,
Mhm,
kind of more importantly than the artist himself. But what are they saying? And so for me, it's just given me a better appreciation for just any genre of music. I think I can find the beauty in it because it's like we were kind of taught to listen to what's being conveyed, even if maybe we're not crazy about the genre. We're like, okay, but what, that message was cool. I do like that. So I think it's helped me a lot. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would agree. It helps broaden the perspective of music, the music
Yeah.
land, versus being kind of forbidden of hearing certain music, and then when you do get it, kind of like an example, you just go wild with it. It's like you were hidden from the world, and now you're in the world, and it's like, oh my gosh, all this is
Right.
out here.
It's
Like,
amazing. Look at this stuff. Right.
look at this.
You
I'm
didn't
about to
tell
go
me
do
about
all of
this. Right.
this.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm about to go do all of this.
Right. Right. Right.
So for you specifically,
Mhm.
right, what challenges do you face when trying to blend, R&B, right? 'Cause that's a bunch of styles right there. R&B and pop and jazz and gospel and reggae and funk. Um, do you run into any roadblocks or issues kind of melding those together? And how do they work together to kind of create that cohesive sound?
Yeah. It's funny. The only roadblocks I run into is really just from the content itself, like writer's block kind of thing. But for me, I've never tried to. I've never actively was thinking like, let me try to blend these things. It's just for me when I'm writing. And I think it's just because of the different styles I was exposed to. It's just like, okay, this feels like this. I've probably have each album that I've done since my very first band in college, which is called Sugar Water Purple. I've had at least one reggae song on the album, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just I was kind of feeling something, and I wrote it, and it was like, wow, this is different. but now I have enough of those where I can make a whole reggae album. Like I have like 12, 13 different originals, and it
Uh,
wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like I
what?
wasn't like one
Stop
day.
smiling.
I said, you see if Yohance over here smiling at you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He
Because
rocking his
I'm
his
Jamaican,
Bob
so
Marley
I
way.
had to give you
Oh,
that.
you're Jamaican.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, sir.
Jamaican, Spanish
I
town.
should, yes, sir. Oh, were you you said Spanish Town?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. Let me ask you. Okay, I always wanted to ask someone. What did you think about the Bob Marley movie?
that's
Did
why
you check it out?
I had this shirt before then, but
Yeah, of course, of course.
it's one of those things. Like both characters were taller. Bob is like my height. I'm 5'6", so it
Oh,
was
right.
more about him and his wife in the movie.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give too much about it.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
haven't
say
seen it
We
yet.
haven't
anything.
seen it yet.
That's why I didn't
Okay, I haven't seen it yet. Okay, I gotta check it. I haven't seen it
yeah.
yet.
No,
Okay,
it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope though.
okay.
Yeah, anytime on the show when anybody mentions reggae and being
Yeah,
Jamaican, he's always over here smiling like.
So can't help it, man. Can't
yeah.
help it.
Yeah, no, to me, reggae is so authentic. You know, it's not like I said, it's never something that I've never sit down and say I want to write a reggae song. It's just there's
Mm.
just something natural. Just lyrics start coming, and I feel it. I'm like, oh, this is what it is. This is a reggae tune. Like, you know, it wasn't my choice. You know, it just kind of happened that way. So to me, it's I feel the same way about reggae, not in terms of the sound, but the authenticness that I actually feel about bluegrass. It's that
Mm.
you know, it's all wooden, it's all acoustic,
Mm.
and it's like whatever they're singing, they're feeling it. They're feeling it, and it's very personal to them. Even if they're singing about societal things, like you can feel their energy as they're singing. You know,
Mm,
so yeah, yeah,
mm.
yes, sir.
Because I know you got that album titled Zion. I
Oh
haven't
yeah,
checked it out, but like in my mind, I'm thinking like reggae.
right, right,
That was
yep,
my thoughts. I had me listen to it, but
yeah. That one has about I think 3 or 4 reggae tracks on it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that one. Yeah. So still has that cinema sound, you know, but it's definitely got a few reggae tunes. I mean, there's some songs it has to be, you know, when you're singing, when you're working on something like no, this has to be there's something that flows from that can't really be faked, I think, you know.
But how is your creative process like coming up with the music?
Yeah, it's it depends. There are some songs that I actually wrote from like when we had our church in California. I was, the music director, and we would have this time of probably an hour before service. I'd be on the piano, because during the prayer time, there are times when I would write songs right there on the piano. There songs would come to me, and I would kind of like try to jot things down while I was playing, and it was just literally a whole song like right there. And there are other times when um, it really is. A lot of times it's a melody first before anything else. Like it's almost like I'm hearing something in the distance. So I'm singing this thing. I'm singing this thing like the song I wrote on the album Zion called "Sweet Vindication." I had that melody for a while, and I remember just driving and being in the house, just going, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, "What is that?" Like, and then one day, literally those words just came out, "Sweet Vindication," and then from there, it just snowballed. Like after that, the words just came and came and came.
Hmm.
Um, it's not really. It's rare that I'm not. My wife is a little more like organized in terms of like this is my time for this is my time for that. For me, it's rare that I'll sit down and say, okay, today I'm going to write a song. Usually, it's something's already kind of stirring in me, and then by the time I sit down, it's like part of it's already kind of done. So I'm just putting down what I'm hearing and stuff. So it's kind of hard to. But like before Zion, I had like this 3 years of a writer's block where I really wasn't writing much of anything, and I was worried that I wasn't gonna like write anything ever again. Like I was like, man,
Mhm.
what's going on with me? But and then literally different songs were just dropping one by one, different times until I had that whole album. And it was hard to explain how it happened. Things started opening up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as you were saying, I was wondering what was going on at that time in your life that was probably becoming an inhibitor to writing and
yeah,
creating music. Uh,
yeah,
now,
yeah. I mean, it was. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. I said I don't know. Did you ever identify what that was, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, looking back, I think it was I had to be content with where I was. A lot of life was happening. So I had gotten married. We moved to Virginia Beach. My wife, she's from South Africa, but she moved. She was getting her master's in Virginia. Wait, oh, you got someone from South
No,
Africa too?
no, I was in the military, but I was stationed at Virginia Beach.
Oh, you're Virginia Beach. Oh, wow.
And I'm from Virginia, so
So yeah,
I'm from
Oh,
Virginia.
wow.
I'm from a small town called Hopewell, but
yeah.
before I ended up moving back to St. Louis, we lived
Yeah.
in Newport News. So
Oh, no, okay. It's funny. When I was a kid, we lived in Herndon for a few years before we moved to
okay, I know
to
what
California. Yeah.
yep.
So yeah, it was so coming back out there. And then Virginia Beach, there wasn't a lot of music happening. I was trying to make stuff work, but it was at the time we were pretty broke, so I couldn't even go out to New York a lot because it just cost too much. And
Mhm.
and so I spent a lot of that time stressing about what my life, like what am my career and music, da, da, da. And I realized looking back that I really was supposed to just enjoy our new marriage, and then we wound up having our first child out there, and then we moved back to California, just enjoying that time, instead of trying to force something. Because the moment that I did that, I really did. We moved out here to Charlotte, and then my parents wound up moving out here a few months after. So basically, the whole family's out here, and maybe 6 months later, songs just started coming and coming. But
Mm,
it was once I let it go, I had to let it go. That was the thing, was I had to be okay with and enjoy being a husband, being a father, all that kind of stuff.
right.
The more I was trying to force stuff, literally the drier it was, the drier the well was almost, the more
Mm,
I kept trying to fill it up. So once I realized that, I think that's been helping me move forward and just, being content. If there's a season where it seems kind of down, or it's just monotonous or routine, it's like, okay, well, enjoy it, because it's in a second it's gonna get crazy. It never usually stays like this. So just enjoy it, enjoy the kids, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what it was.
So how do you juggle that? Even today, how do you juggle being a husband, being a father, and being a music creative? Not even just that, but your different, I call them titles:
Mm,
CEO,
right.
director, composer, artist,
Mm,
songwriter. Like, how do you balance the creative side with life side?
yeah, yeah. It's I think that what I've been finding is exactly that. It's been so one thing that I found that kept tripping me up whenever I was, I would never be on the road for that long. Maybe a week, maybe once I was gone for about 10 days, and I was like, that's too much. I need to be
Mm,
home with the kids and stuff. But whenever I was gone, I would be thinking so much about, man, I miss being home. Man, I miss, I gotta be with the kids. And when I was home, after a while, I'd be like, "Ah, I gotta get on the road. Like, I'm not doing anything. I gotta, keep
right.
myself out there." So I realized that I really have to be 100% present where I am. So when I'm out on the road, as much as I miss the kids, as much as I miss my wife, to go hard, go 1,000% and push, you know what I mean? And get the fullness out of it, so that when I come home, I can just fully rest and enjoy the family. And it's something that I think my wife's much better at it than I am. Whenever she's traveling, it used to feel to me like she didn't miss me. She didn't want to be around us, kind of thing. But I realized after a few years of this, I realized, no, she's focused. She's like, no, I really miss you guys a lot, but if I'm gonna be here, I gotta, I gotta do what I gotta do while I'm out here. And so I realized, you got to adopt that too. That so that when I'm home, the balance is much better. I can be home. I can literally, just be with the boys all day. Do stuff with them, take them places and everything, and not worry about what's it gonna do to my brand or whatever. For not
Mhm,
being on social media all day, whatever. So that's helped. And so then when I sit down and do music, I've actually been able to do a lot more creative stuff. I'm almost done with this EP. A lot of the songs I wrote in that like kind of flow of being present there, being present here, and then when I sit down to write, it's faster, it flows better. So yeah, I think that's the key, and at least right now, that's what
mhm.
I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
So like with your collaborations, like how do you end up with that? Like what motivates you to do that? Like have a song by
yeah,
yourself or a collaboration?
yeah. That's always It's funny. I love collaborating with people. So that's my favorite thing, is to if I see an artist I like, it's like, hey, let's do something together. Let's do a show or a song. There are just times when I'm writing and I'll feel this block, and sometimes I'll know, okay, this block is here because I think someone else is supposed to write this part. And so I'll reach out to a friend that I've been thinking about anyway. Okay, this is why I've been thinking about this person. There's one song on the upcoming album where um I was writing, I wrote the first verse, and then I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna reach out to my friend Diamond, she's a dope artist herself. And she's an amazing singer and poet and everything. And I said, I'm not sure. And then she happened to text me, just ask me a random question. I said, okay. So I answered her question. I said, do you want to write this song with me? And she was like, yeah, sure. And so it's just always, it's kind of like that. I just kind of let it flow because, um, to me, it's also based on just the relationship in general, how much we get along and all that stuff. But whenever I get a chance to collaborate with someone, I'll find something. I'm like, look, if you want to do something together, if you're a rapper, if you're a writer yourself, okay, can we write something together? Or if you're a singer, like I love to write something for you. Even with other singers, I'll reach out to them and say, hey, I'll be willing to do an arrangement for you for free, just so we can start working together. Like if you want strings, if you want something like that. And that usually gets things going. Because then they usually want to do something for me as well, which is cool. Like, yeah, let's do something together. And yeah, so for me, collaborations, it's like whenever it can happen, let's make it happen.
Look, I'm ready to collaborate.
Yeah.
I'm ready to collaborate. No, look, especially, of course, since he's such an amazing musician, composer, and actually plays instruments.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't.
Yeah, that's
I don't play instruments. But
like that piano, man. I watched a video earlier. I think you were on the left hand side, and it was a girl in front. She was singing. I
Oh
can't
yeah.
remember the name of the song, but it was pretty dope though.
Thanks, man. I'm trying to think what that was. Yeah. Oh, on the left hand. Yeah, that was probably from that last. Yeah, our last show. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks. No, I appreciate that, man.
yeah, no.
I apologize. I just had to plug my laptop, but it's
Oh yeah.
Oh, you
give me
get
2 seconds. 1 second. Sorry.
Yep.
Be over here and all of a sudden it go bloop.
Oh, man.
I'll just edit that part out.
Oh, you talking about this?
Yeah. I just edit this part out
Okay,
right
yeah.
here. I gotta.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, we
I just
get
gotta. I just gotta see where we at in the time, and then go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, here's a question for you, right? So, I already thought about these questions. So here's the question.
Mhm.
In the intro that I gave, right, I talked about your advocacy for organic diversity in the arts. Can you
Mhm.
talk about what that means? Can you talk about how that philosophy influence your music and also your interactions in the music industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, when I talk about organic diversity, it really is for me about trusting the creative process. Meaning, like, I've for me, all the people I've ever worked with, I mean, for different parts of the world and everything, have been based on just like a basic thing, which is how well do we get along, and then how good are you, right? Like, and that's it. And from there, I think that, I mean, there are a whole host of I've been able to, with my platform that's growing. It's not huge, but it's growing, and I've been able to put people on my platform. I've been able to be on other people's platforms. And I think partnerships that probably never would have happened if that approach wasn't there, which is just, hey, okay, I know your style is way over here, but I like it. I like those sounds, and I like you. Let's do something together. And I think that, to me, that's a much more effective way to get diversity and still maintain excellence. Because to me, like I said, it's about trusting the process. Like, the excellence is there, and I know that there are people who look like me who are incredible, who are better than me. Right? I know there are people who are different, whether they're different faiths, different ethnicities, or whatever. That's already a given. I don't necessarily have to find that. If I just look for quality, I'll find all that stuff will fall into place. And so far, I mean, like I said, it's just it's I mean, I guess you call it a philosophy. It's something that I just always like to do, as even as a kid anyway. So it's just one of those, I just keep doing that. But I'm seeing that, like, no, that's bringing about, I think, a harmony that it's just kind of natural and easy to manage.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's and the reason why I call it a philosophy because it's something that
yeah,
like that's your guide, right? And how
absolutely.
you manage your interactions and collaborations and things like that. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
that guy that says, "Hey, with any interaction that I deal with, I want to make sure it's organic. I want to make sure
exactly.
that I trust the process through whoever I'm dealing with, whether it's business, music,
Right,
or personal,
right.
right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I mean that's and honest, and this is what I tell my bandmates. My favorite parts about whether it's touring or just doing shows is the time that we spend before and after the show. I love that. I love the rehearsals, especially when it's the big rehearsals with, I have my 16-piece string section with the band. I love seeing people connecting with each other, people who've never met before, like, hey, I've always wanted to do something with the cello, and just like behind the scenes, like watching those interactions happen. That's like my favorite thing is seeing the cross pollination. People, I mean, I forget a lot of times, but sometimes people will remind me, like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this project with so and so. How'd you guys meet? Oh, we met at one of your shows." I'm like, "Oh, dang, that's cool." Like that's tight. So it happens all the time, and I don't, like I said, that's not my. I don't try to make that happen, but it's always nice when you hear that from people that, "Oh yeah, we met at a rehearsal of yours,"
Mm.
or we, on stage or whatever. So yeah, that's my favorite thing. A close second, obviously, is being on stage with everyone and playing, but just the conversations, the being together, the community part of it, that's my favorite part for sure.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm throwing it over to Yohance.
Yeah. I know you were talking about the live performances. So like
Yeah.
with since there's so many different instruments, because like you said earlier, nobody is really playing instruments like that. So
Mhm.
how do you go from there? Like how do you pick the people
Right,
like
right.
plays a guitar, you know,
Yeah.
cello or whatever they want to play? Or who
Right.
you pick for a singer or a rapper?
Right. It's I feel blessed to have, like, growing up in Stockton, and Stockton's a city where it kind of gets a bad rap a lot. We had, for a long time, we were kind of we were rivaling number one for homicides, and there's all
Right.
kinds of stuff going on in the city. Like, we were kind of going back and forth with Chicago. You know what I mean? And like, but so Stockton always kind of got that reputation. Either people didn't know it or they only heard bad things about it.
Mhm.
But there was a lot. It afforded a lot of opportunities for me because there were things that hadn't really been done yet, in Stockton. So people would kind of give me access to things. I tried to put on a concert in the park and put together an orchestra and put together a band, and it was a lot of work, but compared to, I think, if I was living in LA, I don't know if it would have been that easy to do if I was in LA, because that's been done a million people do it all the time in LA.
Mhm.
People kind of do that kind of stuff. So I was able to kind of hone some things there. And so growing up in church, my first band was started with my bass player, my drummer as like the foundation. And then musicians from the school kind of built on top of that. So they kind of gave us that solid sound. And then really from there, it's the relationships from there. So like from those people, because they're good people and they know people, I've been able to meet other drummers or the bass players or the guitar players, and then all the people I work with, they're cool with me playing with other people. If they can't make it, hey man, I can't make it, but there's a dope guitar player, and hey, you may want to play with them afterwards. And I'm not mad, but check him out. And so now there's just this kind of deep library of people that I have on the West Coast and on the East Coast now, because some people have moved over there and kind of started that thing. So it's, for me now, it really is just hitting up friends and asking for connections if I don't know anyone. But for the most part, I'll know one or two people just over the years of doing this, and it's cool. I mean, um, and then you meet unique people, right? Like, I have a cellist who, she's a very classical cellist, but she also plays by ear, and she has this feel that's just so organic. She fits right in with the band. Like, she doesn't need charts. She can just listen and play. And but then she can also play in a quartet if I gave her parts. So there's a place. I think it, for both of us, kind of gives us a home. Like, okay, we make sense. You know what I mean? We make sense. We're on stage and all that stuff. So yeah, it's just the relationships at this point kind of connecting me to other people.
Okay, so um, let's talk about Zion
Yeah,
Academy. All right, I
Mhm.
want to make sure I get the the name right. Zion
yeah.
Academy of Music and Arts. So how did that initiative take place? What was the foundation uh,
Yeah.
for it, and what's the overall mission for Zion Academy of Music and Arts?
So the Zion Academy of Music and Arts was built on the Zion Academy of Music, which is a school my father started in 97, 1997. So I was 7. Me and my sister came up through that program, and then it was just my dad. He taught piano and he taught theory. He had about, I mean, he had about 60 something students,
Wow.
a bunch of classes and stuff. And it went all the way until I think about, it went for a few years, 2004 or something like that. And then it closed down for a short period of time. And then he reopened it when I was a freshman at UOP, which was in my hometown. So I would go to school and then I would also teach at Zion Academy in Stockton. Eventually I became the director. And so when we moved out to Charlotte, I wanted to start it up again, but have that title because I wanted it to kind of branch beyond just music to having music, having whether it's visual arts, whether it's even like martial arts, and having all that under one roof. So right now, I just teach out of our home. I have a few piano students. I have a few families that I work with. I have a couple of drum students, and so it's growing slowly. But it's right now it kind of started the way Zion Academy started in Stockton, which my dad just kind of taught out of the house, kind of thing. And so that's my thing is the whole foundation of it all is excellence. So
Mm.
one of the things that my wife and I talk about now, being parents, my oldest is 5 and our youngest is 3, is that a lot of times the things we try to find for the kids, the atmosphere is like, just kind of do your thing. We just come and kind of run around. And it's like, okay, they can run around at home. I mean, first of all, we're not going to pay X amount of dollars a month to have them run around. Like I can take them to a park and do that.
Yeah.
First of all, like, so it's like, whether it's gymnastics, whether it's, soccer or basketball, like teach them the game. And yeah, they're kids, so they're not going to be able to do all this stuff, but there has to be a standard. And so that's kind of that's how my dad based the school. And then that's how I want to do this one, which is we'll have fun. We'll learn some fun stuff. But there was a lady who used to come every year and train us teachers at Zion Academy. And she came because one of her piano students came through the program. My dad taught him, and she was so impressed with him that she wanted to come and help us. So the phrase, and she passed away a few years ago. She's tragically died of cancer, and she kind of
Mm.
just like stays in our memory. But one of the things that she said was, the joy is in the work. And she said, it's parents will say, oh, they're not really having fun. It's like, well, if they work on what they've been given, they're gonna have fun because they're gonna be learning the piece. They're gonna be learning the music. They'll be like, oh man, I can't believe I can play this. And so that's kind of the model we go with, is that the joy will come if you put the time in. And we're not gonna sit there and slap your wrist if you play the wrong note, but there is a standard that has to be there so that you can have an option if you want to become a professional musician. Well, we gave you a foundation. And if you don't, well, we still gave you a foundation of what it means to pursue something and persevere and to work hard. So even if you do something else, you still have that mindset of, okay, I can get over these obstacles. I can move past these hurdles, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what we try to do at Zion Academy of Music and Arts, and I'm hoping that it continues to grow.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Me too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned, you like, yeah, arts, like martial arts too, like any
Yeah.
arts
Yeah.
is under the umbrella, right? So if you want
Yep.
to come
Yeah.
in hi and kicking, then it's here.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
um,
Absolutely.
it's artistic focus, music focus.
Mm.
But I do like that, and I do wish your endeavors for Zion Academy of Music and Arts great blessings, that it
Thank you.
it
Yeah.
manifests itself into exactly the vision that you have for it. So
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So you have the Zion album and the Zion Academies. So where did that come from? That's from the Bible. I know that.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's funny. And the church I grew up in is called the Congregation of Zion. That's my dad's. It's just there's always been, so it's in the Bible. It's Jerusalem. It's the holy city. It represents worship and all the things, and music. The Levites and the priests, and um, the musicians that would be responsible for worshiping in the temple, all that stuff. And I think that it's just, I think, well, not just for me, it rings true. I think generationally, our ancestors sang about Zion a lot, and
Mm.
one of the most famous songs, "We're Marching to Zion." There's like this. metaphor for heaven, even, right? Like, okay, after all this, there's something else after this kind of thing. And so I wasn't sure. After I had another album before Zion, and released that one. And after that came out, I wasn't sure what the next album was going to be, and it was kind of just in my heart. I was thinking, and I hadn't even told my wife yet because I was on my way to my parents' house, and I was thinking like maybe the next album will be called Zion. I'm not sure. When I got there, my mom said, "So what's the next album going to be? Is it going to be called Zion?" I was like, I was like, I said, "Well, I guess so. I guess
Yeah.
that's what it is now."
You
Like,
know.
um, and so that the name came first, and then the track title or the track procession, but in parentheses, it's called Zion. That's like the big song on the album. That's like the almost feels like Fifth Dimension or kind of thing, like Earth, Wind, Fire or whatever.
Mm.
Um,
Earth,
I'm
Wind,
ready
and
to
Earth,
listen to
Wind, and
that.
Fire.
yeah, kind of.
You have all the. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, probably my favorite in terms of just band and the whole setup, this whole sound.
Look, listen. Listen. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yes.
Yesterday, I was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Which song?
Reason.
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh, that's the one.
Phillips Bailey's just falsetto was off the chain.
Yeah.
Like
For the whole song, like
Yeah.
the entire song, Philip Bailey, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna be up here, bro? Like not
Mhm.
even just in your nasal cavity, but you're gonna be up here, like
up there,
in your fifth brain area. Like, come on, I don't even know if that's a real term.
right? No, that
And
no,
my has all those albums like original in his record case. You know what I'm saying?
But what I thought about when I heard that, but back in that time when you had that um, that culture of artists, the falsetto was really in at that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about all the groups, whether black groups, white groups, they all at that time falsetto was
Yeah, that was
thing.
the sound,
And
and it was strong.
say that again.
And it was strong too. They like their
Oh,
falsetto was they hit it. Yeah,
it was so strong. But
Yeah.
it just reminded me. You talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire and Fifth Dimension. And all that, like
Yeah.
it just reminded Philip Bailey had those the whole entire song. He was really
Absolutely.
killing that falsetto. But
Yeah, no, he was.
now but that style of music, I think is something that people gravitate toward because it just sounds. I'll use the term organic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all the instrumentation, the musicality, the originality, all coming together to create a certain type of dynamic sound.
Yeah.
And
I love
I think overall that's the purpose and direction of what you're seeking to emulate in Zion.
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. No, it's like the synergy of people not just playing together, but knowing, like, finding their place. One thing I like about Earth, Wind& Fire is that even though they're a big group, if you listen to things individually, there's not a lot going on. I mean, like, the trumpets are the craziest probably of, usually most of their songs. But if you listen to the drums, the bass, guitar, everyone's just locked in. No one's shedding all over the place. Everyone's just like, this is my place rhythmically, sonically, everything. Everyone kind of has their place, and it all feels like one instrument, kind of like going through. And then it's like it's a good foundation for the horns to just and the vocals to just go crazy. And no one feels like, or at least the way it comes across to me is, no one feels like they have to, outshine the rest of the band. It's like, no, this is my place. I'm the bass player, and I'm right here, and that's, I'm giving the band what it needs.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Like September's like right, it's like in the pocket. Oh, like it's
Yeah.
like everything right there in that song is
Right
just
there.
right there. Like it is so smooth. That song is so cohesive.
Yes.
Like, oh
Yes.
my gosh. Like,
Oh man.
so when I
Yeah,
think about music today, right? And I'll get your perspective on that. When I listen to music today, or let me go back. When I listened to music of back then, it was so cohesive, so organic, so natural. Everything flowed together. I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire probably has like 60 members. I'm making it up. They don't have that many people.
Bunch of
It's
them,
a bunch though, right?
Yeah.
They got a lot of members in that group.
Yeah.
But even having that many members and all playing all live instruments, the
Mm,
sound still sounds amazing. It sounds
yeah.
full, it sounds cohesive, it sounds fluid.
Mm,
But
mm.
when I listen to music today, I don't think it still. I don't think it has that same synergy
Mm-mm.
with those sounds, with
Mm.
the instruments, and well, one they probably not playing instruments. Everything's
Playing
made
it.
on drum machines and stuff. But
Yeah.
Right,
so
right.
even for you, Joe Dobby, when you're
Yeah,
looking out at your peer group in this music
yeah,
landscape, what do you see? How do you feel about
yeah. I think
going
the
on?
appreciation for not even appreciation, I think the utilizing of a good band has gone down for sure. You know, I think that until people see it, they don't really know that it can be that way. Is that if that makes sense? So because
Mhm.
of that, yeah, everything's electronic, you know, or I've seen sometimes like rappers will have a drummer and a DJ, but the drummer's not mic'd. It's kind of more there for show kind of thing. Um and yeah, I think that back then, you know, everything was so organic that when you listen to even like Motown stuff, all the orchestral elements kind of filled in
Mhm.
those spaces. It was full and it was moving. I think there's less of an appreciation for even that nuance in the music. It's more of like, okay, here's the beat and we'll put, you know, a bass line behind it, or the bass will come in at this point. And then it's everything else is kind of like a wall of sound kind of coming at you. Um which depending on what mood I'm in, I enjoy it. Like honestly, like I don't knock it, but I think that there has been a throwing like almost like we've kind of forgotten about that organic band sound. Like people
Mhm.
don't really they don't really appreciate it as much as they used to. And I think it's not even their fault because whenever my band comes through, whether we're playing a showcase or whatever, I'll see people who are like, dang, like I've never this is my first time really hearing something like this. I'm like, well, I'm definitely not the only person doing this. You know, like
Right.
listen, like, if this is your first time, y'all gotta go check out this person, that person, you know, but it's cool to know that it's not that people have stopped liking it. It's just I think it's not being produced as much. You know, labels I think don't think that it's necessary anymore, or maybe they consider that, you know, old or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it definitely is not it's not as appreciated.
Well, it's a lot
Yeah.
of work,
It
right?
Yeah.
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
Man.
you're gonna bring in an Earth, Wind, and Fire, think how many musicians
Man.
that is.
Right,
That's
right.
a lot of work,
That's work, that's money, that's a lot of dividing up the pay and everything, like yeah,
right?
that's true.
But back then they didn't really have any other alternative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they had to play instruments, and you had to bring in,
Yep.
the drums and the horn section and the
Mm,
bass and
Right,
singers and
right.
all these different components. You had to bring in the
mhm.
wind chime guy and the goose, right? The triangle guy. You had to bring all of those
Yeah.
people in to have those
Right,
instruments
right,
play. Now I can just press a button, and have a triangle. I can
Yeah.
have
right, right,
the drum, right? I got a drum machine. It can take care of all of that.
Mhm.
right.
VSDs can take care of, you know, like I have
Yeah.
East West. They can take care of all
East West,
the
yeah. Yep.
the orchestral symphonic type of sounds.
I love live music. I'm sorry. Like
But
Switch.
I love live
Yeah,
music.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, them dudes play everything. Like somebody could be playing the drums, and next
Yeah.
moment they could be playing the guitar, and got a guy
Mhm.
singing, and he
Right, right.
playing the drum. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's to me, that's always gonna be I mean, like, and I like my it was my bass player, I think, from just after college who, and Alex, he got me into some really good electronic like, there's some producers that really I mean, they piece together some nice stuff, you know,
Mm.
and so it gave me another level of appreciation for that sound. So I will appreciate it. I mean, I'll listen to that kind of stuff all day long. But yeah, when I'm at when I go to a show, for me, I'm like, okay, I want the live version. You know, I don't want to hear you play those
Mm,
electronic sounds on stage. Like
yeah.
I heard it on the album. I want to hear you do something, you know, big. Like give me something else. Like
Yep.
so, yeah, yeah.
So what about your music? How has your music evolved over the years?
So you know, I think if anything, I think it's funny in terms of genre. It's been more or less similar things. I think just but the maturity. I think it's been polished more. Um, I think when I first started, I was writing a lot of. I was very heavily inspired by. Actually, when I first started my band, I was inspired by Chick Corea. So we were doing a lot of instrumental stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
and then it kind of morphed into this R&B soul kind of thing. I had another singer, Jasmine Jordan. She would sing with us a lot, and so I would write a lot for her and play. And then, but from there, I started to sing a little bit more, and then kind of shifted into that soul. But then, even with that, I would, a lot of the songs had different genres. They're just different kind of uh, stuff, even stuff that we couldn't define fully. But it was like, no, it's groovy and everything, but we don't really know what to call this. I think now, probably now, um, lately, I mean, even from the Zion album to now, I've been getting into more Afro, like Afro funk, Afro soul kind of thing with a live band, and I think that's going to be explored more in the coming projects. But yeah, I mean, I think over the years, it's just the way the music has evolved. It's just in the content. I think I've been a lot better with lyrics and really conveying a message. I think when I was younger, there was a lot of things that I wanted to do that I didn't know how to do, like cognitively
Mm.
and like mentally. But I knew that I could, like I knew somehow that I could do it. It was frustrating to, I was in school. I wasn't the best student, and I was homeschooled for most of schooling. But I went to high school my junior year, so last 2 years of high school, and then went to college. And I just remember, even in homeschooling, I was always good at music, but like I was always kind of behind in everything else. I would always have to like play catch up, play catch up.
Mm.
And even in high school, I was always a step behind everyone. And it was frustrating because I knew I had gifts, but I couldn't really access them. And so I think now I'm in a place, even now, starting now at 33, where I can better access those things. If I want to communicate something, um, I think that I'm writing things that if I were to travel back in time and show myself in
That's
high school, he'd be like, "Oh, wow, how can you do that? Like, that's dope," kind of thing.
I'm glad you said that because as you were sitting here, I was thinking about that type of question. Like, what would
Mm,
JoDavi, 33-year-old JoDavi, tell younger
Yeah.
JoDavi
right, right.
in order to prepare younger JoDavi
Mm.
for the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think about this a lot actually, but I would tell him, look, stay focused on what you're doing. Like, don't be distracted. I know you like girls, and I love the stuff going on, but like, you just keep your head down. Like, God's got your future wife, He's got your families, all that stuff. You put your head down, focus on the music, focus on your finances, on the get all you can about the business side of it, and and don't stress about things that just aren't in your control, because that's really where we get distracted. um um yeah, I mean, and looking back, obviously we always look at things we want to change. Generally, I enjoyed being in high school, being in college, all that stuff, but that's the one thing I would say to myself. It's just, it's all good, man. Just focus more, just do your music, and it's fine. Like, you'll be fine. Don't stress about the other stuff.
Yeah, hindsight 2020, right? We
Yeah.
now we know and we can go, oh man, if I had a chance to tell my younger self how to,
Right.
I had all types of
Yeah.
instructions and wisdom and knowledge
Right.
as
Right.
a young guy. But
Right. Right.
but the beauty of it is, so here's the beauty of it, right? We can impart that to our children.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
now we can, now that depends if your kids listen to you. I'm
Right.
just right. But now you can
Right.
impart that into your children, and then
Yeah.
they could make their own decisions based upon that information, and then based upon kind of their own experience for things they
Mhm.
try to do. Because
Right.
my wife homeschooled all of our kids.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so our older two, we end up taking them out of school and then
Yeah.
homeschooling them.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
my younger two, we homeschooled them all the way through. So
Yep.
they never been to public school. They were homeschooled
Right.
from the very
Yep.
beginning all the way to graduation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And what was so funny is that they graduated when we moved here to Atlanta. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, and we had the whole, I mean, we had a whole academy set up for them. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was the principal. My wife was the teacher. I mean,
Yep.
we had the actual
Oh
real
man.
like school structure set
Yeah.
up.
Right.
And my
Right.
wife did almost all the teaching because at that time I was traveling all over the country.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm,
and
mm.
so a lot of the responsibility fell onto her as far
Yeah.
as education of
Mhm.
the younger two. But the younger two are brilliant. Like their
Yeah.
mind, and then that's
Mm,
the thing I think homeschool allows you to develop, right?
Yeah.
Because they were exposed to so much.
mhm,
So my wife's count was kind of like like your father, right? My wife was like your
mhm.
father. They'll watch TV and she'll pause it. All right, life lesson time, and she'll give them
Right.
like
Right.
like a
Yeah.
life lesson right there,
Yep. Yeah.
right there. Or we'll be
Right.
out somewhere and something will happen. All right, look, so this teaching
Right.
moment, it's like, yo, just
Right.
love
Right.
enjoy the whatever's happening. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Right. What's
because
wrong with this picture? Right.
right, what's with this picture? Okay, how can
Right.
we approach that a little bit differently? What can we
Right.
do
Right.
today based upon this? And if you're gonna do
Right.
this, how you need to, right? And
Right.
that's
Right.
because she was the facilitator of their
Mm,
education. So for so many years, she's taken on that role that she still does it today. Right. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
she still does it.
Yeah.
Even though my kids are grown, they're
Yeah.
23, soon to be
Right. Right.
21. Like
Mhm.
they're no
Mm,
longer kids, but she still has that. All right
Yeah.
now. So like when we're driving somewhere,
right.
right? All right, now remember when you're driving, you're not driving just for yourself. You're driving for everybody else too.
Right. Right.
You got to make sure that you watch out. And I'm just like, yo,
Right. Right.
allow them to just enjoy the experience. But it's still those teachable, it's still those teachable
Absolutely.
moments. Uh,
Absolutely.
but those teachable moments are, um, you're gonna wish you had those moments,
Yes.
because like for me, my mom didn't do that for me. My mom
Mhm.
didn't give me
Yeah.
teachable moments, right?
Right.
She was like, your schooling is public school and you're gonna
Right.
go.
Right.
Probably
Right.
why I was held back a year and why I had
Mhm.
anger issues and all these other
Right.
things because I didn't
Yeah.
have home instruction.
Yeah.
Right.
It was
Right.
the school is your
Go to
primary
school. Right.
source of education. So
Right. And
uh,
that's
yeah.
interesting. That's actually the reason, exactly the reason why my mom decided to homeschool us. They made that shift for me specifically. She said because she saw how I was learning, and she said, "Okay, I have the patience. I know him, so I know how to get him to, you know, either understand or sometimes he understood. He just act like he didn't understand, right? But I know my son, and she said if I put him in school, they're not gonna have the patience for him. They're just gonna say, okay, he's slow. He's gonna go over there with those kids, and so for me, it was that she said, okay, my dad told me as I got older, they said we started to understand more. Would talk about the whole school to prison pipeline thing. It was like,
Mm.
okay, but it's not that you're a bad kid. You needed more hands on instruction. I needed my dad around, I needed my mom around. Like that was kind of the thing for me. And so yeah, I mean for us, we're talking about now that our kids are getting older. Not necessarily whether or not we're going to homeschool, but how are we going to do it? Kind of thing. Because exactly that. I mean, even it's funny because even with homeschooling, I know that there were times for me where my dad really had to get on my case, quite a bit. And I look back and I go, I wonder what it would have been like if I was not under their supervision, in the school, for hours at a time. It would have been worse, been way worse.
Right. It could have been without that instruction, without that
Mhm.
discipline to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, or here's the proper way to do it, or whatever the case is. Sometimes we
Mhm.
don't really realize that that instruction is what we truly need. And a lot of kids today, they don't really get that in the public school setting. And
Right.
the biggest thing that we always heard, well, how did your children socialize? Well, you know
Right.
what?
Right.
Socializing with all that. Okay, that's
Right.
they want them socializing with all that because
Yeah.
that's crazy. We trying to give them expansion in their knowledge base. We don't
Mhm.
have to deal with all this other stuff. And nope. But that was
Right.
the big thing. What about their
That's
socializing?
crazy.
Our kids socialized. They had other children that they played
Yeah.
with. They had other homeschool groups that we were a part of. A lot of things that took place. Then 100% they were absolutely fine.
Yeah. My
Right.
my
Right.
dad my dad is military and my mom was a factory worker, so it's
Oh
kind of
wow.
it's kind of crazy that way because
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
dad's in the military, so
Yeah.
you know I
Wow.
grew up that type of way.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Sheesh. Yeah. I can
It's
imagine.
on
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
It's on you, Yohance.
All right. So like, what are your challenges and triumphs? Like, what are the biggest challenges you faced in your music career, and how have you overcome them?
Um, for me, it's funny enough. It's been relational. So, um, early on, I had to learn how to deal with um really difficult personalities because when you're younger, 19, I'm in college. I'm like, hey, you want to be in my band? Join my band. So I have all these people in my band, and we're
Mm,
having fun. but then we hit our first kind of snag, and there's someone in our band that just I found out really quickly that he has a problem with his temper, and but in a way that really affected the band negatively. So it was starting to kind of spread throughout the band, and he's having these, and so I'm feeling all this pressure because he's having these negative interactions with people, and sometimes he'll have these blow ups, in our band. And so, I'm the leader, but I'm the youngest person in the band. I was like, man, I was just trying to have fun, like, I was trying to play music, and so for me, learning how to, and this is something I learned from just watching my dad, as a pastor, but just as a leader and stuff, just learning how to face that head on. Like, okay, what do I do? How do I talk to this person? I can't just act like he's not here because we see each other every week in rehearsal. We gig together, um, and so having to, and it wasn't just that person, but that was one of the main things for me was learning how to address it. But then also after that whole thing, just learning how to see signs early on, not just kind of there's looking back, I said, okay, there were a few things that happened before that, but I'd ignored it. I was, whatever. I mean, I'm trying to do a band. But now, I can see those things early on, where there's potential red flags, or just sometimes things happen before I even approach a person. I go, okay, well, thanks, Lord, thanks for that happening, because now I'm gonna go on to the next person, kind of thing. That's been big for me, because for me, relationships for me are even more important than in a sense my career, in that I'd rather be good with you than to be to when I say be good, I mean, like, I'd rather not do anyone dirty. That's kind of where I am. So I'd rather us be okay. If we happen to beef and you just don't like me because something I said, then I can't really do anything about that. But if it's, if I can help it, I would rather us, the people that I'm working with, we all be on good terms. And so, yeah, that the biggest challenge for me has been, one, um to notice those things, but then even in this season now, it's to also not be afraid to, even seeing some maybe potential things, to still work with the person. So, okay, well, we can still work together in some capacity. I shouldn't be so afraid of our relationship corroding that I just shut everything down just because I saw something that might be something. So yeah, it's been navigating those things for me, for sure. But that was a huge hurdle. Having to have that conversation, having to really, um, you know, face that person, and like I said, I wasn't even 20 yet, or maybe I just turned 20, and was like, I felt like I was in over my head, but it really did shape kind of how I work with people now, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of bands
Yeah,
or a lot
Yeah.
yeah,
of
yeah,
Or
groups,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because
right?
it's the
I mean,
beef.
think about it.
I mean,
You gotta deal with everybody's personality
yeah,
Yes, yes,
in those groups,
yeah,
absolutely.
and it's
that's
like
crazy.
one
It is.
one misstep or one outburst or one situation can be the demise of the group. I'm not gonna be in this group no more. Forget y'all. Wow. And it's like,
Right,
wait a
right,
minute.
right.
Right? Like with boys to men. Like, I understand. I understand.
Escape.
Or escape. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mm,
Or 112, or
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
in sync, or
Right,
yep.
right, right, right.
and it's like,
Sheesh, yeah.
I think that's a tough place for
Mm,
especially someone of in this case for you, Joe Davi, being 19 years old and
right.
having to be the
Man.
leader of a group and deal with those issues, uh,
Yeah.
and really try to say, hey, you know what, I just want to have fun. Like I just want to sing. I just want to play instruments.
Right,
But saying,
right,
you know what, in order for us to really be cohesive as a group, I have to lead the charge to deal with these issues that take
right,
place. It's kind of like,
right.
I mean, you're not really managing people, right? You're really leading people. I'm getting into like
Mm,
stuff, but um,
yeah, yeah,
right. I mean, but
yeah.
you are managing that environment,
Right, right.
to ensure that environment is cohesive
Yeah,
to the overall goal that you're trying to achieve.
exactly,
That's tough.
exactly. It,
That's
it yeah. It also helped me to understand where they were coming from too, because I was younger and they were a little older. That was some of their band experiences. You know what I mean? Their band leader was, he was all about the money, and maybe he stiffed them a lot or whatever, you know. So for them, it was like these were real scenarios. And I think that sometimes, even if you understand, okay, this guy is different, it still takes some time, I think, to really get that, you know. And so I think some of our clashes was just because, you know, misinterpretations, misunderstandings. Like, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't even realize I said that. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like trust me, like I'm
Mm.
not trying to do any of that kind of stuff. Like, I just want to play. So it was some of that too, you know. And for me, having a better understanding of what sometimes that band culture can really be like, and understanding that there are people who, I mean, I still hear it now. People really, I enjoy working with them. They enjoy working with me. But for them, it's sometimes it's more of like you don't understand, like, you know, this is what I used to work with, you know,
Right.
so it's a blessing for me to hear that. And it also kind of, I think there is kind of more responsibility to make sure that that environment is kept that way. Cause I do like it when people are feeling like they're respected and we can all kind of just play and enjoy each other, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key to band success. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've been in several groups, singing groups, but you know, we don't
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, same.
we don't talk about that. Even though I brought it up. Okay, so last few questions for you, JoDavi.
Mhm,
Can you
mhm.
elaborate on your Cultural Collide initiative and its impact on fostering culture understanding through music?
Yeah. Man, that's always a fun one. It's just, you know, for me, growing up how I did, there were a lot of different I call them like just gems throughout my life. I've been able to meeting different people. And like I said, before I even met my wife, there's a lady that my parents knew from South Africa. And my father, you know, his name is Dumisani, but he it didn't used to be that. He changed it, right? But it's a South African name, and his friend, she helped him to find that name's from the Zulu tribe. And so there are things that she taught us, you know, when she would come and visit us. And so when I met my wife, you know, and we eventually got engaged and everything and got married, it was almost like a full circle for my dad, because it was like, okay, you know, 20 something years ago, we had this friend from South Africa. Um, she actually wound up coming to our wedding and everything, which was cool. I mean, it's just like the big full circle thing.
Mhm.
But so for me, growing up with all that, I wanted to have a way to bring different cultures together with this backdrop of music. So people would come and listen to this kind of eclectic sounding music, but also be able to hear something. So the first event that we had was in Harlem at this Ethiopian restaurant. And I wanted them to just be able to hear from the owner, you know, and hear her story, why she grew up in Israel, but she moved to New York, you know, why she moved to New York, and why she started her restaurant. And you know, in just a setting where we can just it was just learning, you know. It's like you hear this music, you hear from her, you can ask her questions and all that stuff, enjoy her food. And I think it brings people who maybe never had Ethiopian food, maybe never heard of an Ethiopian Jew or anything like that, to come. Maybe they're just coming for the music, but now they're learning all this other stuff, I think, in a way that doesn't feel like they're sitting through a lecture or something. So that was my way of like, let's try to bring cultures together, you know, and surround it by things everyone likes. We all like food, we all like music, you know, and then let's learn something in the midst of that, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's a good type of initiative, right? Bringing
Hmm.
two things that people love:
Yeah, food and music.
food
food
and
and
music,
music.
right?
Yep.
Because everybody love food and
Yeah, and
music,
music.
right?
Yeah.
And just having conversations about culture
Hmm.
and seeing different cultures and being aware of different cultures. So I mean, in corporate America, we call that cultural sensitivity, right?
Right, right,
Right. That's a term in cultural corporate America, or no, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
right,
Um,
right, right.
really, I just understanding different cultures and backgrounds and
Right,
how each of us come from different walks of life and have different experiences and upbringings and how they
right.
shape us as individuals. Um,
Mm,
that's something through music that we can communicate to others, and that brings people together. Because I may be of a certain, let's say I'm of a certain descent, and then the music that you make, takes me back to my, birthplace and, my culture, and, it kind of resonates with me in that way. Or even experiencing someone else's culture and understanding their
right,
culture perspective. Like I
right,
have
right.
I have a neighbor who's Haitian. So I get to
Mm,
experience all types of cultural stuff, cultural
Yeah.
food,
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Right.
Tasted before, and just things that I see that are different, how they engage with one another, speak to one another, and just having that awareness of those cultural perspectives. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's exactly it. It's just an awareness. That's exactly what it is.
that's an awareness.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Yohance?
Let me see. I have one more.
Mm-hmm.
So for the advice for emerging artists,
Yeah.
like somebody that plays an instrument like you and they sing, like
Yeah.
what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say the best way to practice and get good at anything is just to do it. Is literally um, find opportunities, jump in there, sing, perform. If you train wreck, that's a part of the process. If it's a complete failure, it's a building block. You can build from there. So don't be afraid to. I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of singers who are just starting out. Is I don't want to. No, you got it. If you want to sing, you got to get out there. Singing is being out there. So just whatever opportunity, don't think about it too much. Learn your songs, put yourself out there. you know if it's great, if it's fantastic, you just put on a really great set. And if it's not, then you have something to start from. It's a starting point that you can build on now, because now you can make notes. Okay, next time I won't do this, next time I won't do that. But you gotta just do it. Just schedule something and let that be your deadline. Schedule a show 3 months from now, and that date is your deadline to get a set together, get out there and do something you know
I don't know. I'm scared.
Wait, I don't know. I'm scared.
I'm scared.
Wait, what's you scared of?
I mean, that's kind of like what Music Soul Child did, right? And
Yeah.
so Music Soul Child would go around singing to people, stop them on the street, hey, let me sing for you, and get feedback from
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
How do I sound? Oh, I think you need to do this and do. Okay, cool. And he'll go to the next person, just random people, and just start singing and ask for advice. Now that is a brother who has uh, self confidence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
the guy, right? I'm not the guy. I'm walking to Yohance and just start, yeah. Nope.
Right.
Not me. But I like the fact that singers, just if you are to sing, get out there and sing. Not a lot of people can take that approach. I can't do that, but and then
Right.
group.
Oh,
If I was in a
man.
group, then yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Some embarrassing. It's embarrassing, right? I'll
No.
share it. I'll tell everything, right? So yesterday I was getting all, I was looking real homeless.
I'm looking homeless now.
Dang.
What that? No.
I was looking real homeless for like a couple of weeks, right? I was
Mhm.
like, let me go shave this up, because I was trying to grow the beard back, so it's coming back in a little bit.
Mhm.
So I was playing R&B yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I love R&B is my favorite genre. I love hip hop, but I love R&B music, right? And so I'm in there singing right now. Don't get me wrong. I know I can actually sing. I just don't like doing it in front of other people. I was killing it. Yes, at least I thought I was killing it in the bathroom. Right now, your best performance is in the bathroom, right? So I was in there shaving. R&B was on. Boys and Men. I'm killing it, right? Intro. I don't remember the group Intro. They was playing a whole bunch of groups, right? New Edition. Unbeknownst to me, right? I'm getting, get ready after I shave, freshen up. I open the door. Who's in the bedroom? The wife. She didn't let me know she was in there the entire time.
Oh man.
Wow.
The entire time.
Oh
She
man.
was,
Oh no.
I was like, "You out here listening to me?" She was like, "I heard you the entire time." I was like, "Oh my God."
No.
She was like, "Nah, you go do your thing." She's like, "You was in there
See?
killing it."
Yep. See.
She was like, "Yeah, but I heard you though."
Oh,
I was like,
man.
"Dang!" And once you now know that somebody's listening,
Right.
it kind of now becomes a deterrent. I
Yeah.
didn't want to do it anymore because I know she was out there,
Right.
and I was like,
Keep doing
"Dang!"
it.
I was like, "I'm just gonna
Right.
keep it quiet now."
Keep doing
So I
it.
started like doing something else, but
No, you gotta keep. No, I hear you though.
What he just said.
You
Keep
gotta
doing
keep pushing. You gotta
it.
keep on going.
gotta
You
keep
just gotta
on
keep
going.
on.
You heard him, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm just saying. I just thought it was coincidental that was his advice. And yesterday she was like, "I caught you." I
Right.
the entire time she was in there. I was in there shaving and
Oh,
getting
man.
manicured up. She was in the room listening to every single word. I'm like, okay,
Yes, sir.
man.
Yes. Sir.
I don't know, JoDavi, is anything we missed? Anything that you want to share, talk about, may not have covered?
I think, I mean, it's funny. My kids keep trying to come in here. My wife's keeping them out, but um, no, I mean, you got those. First of all, I appreciate this interview because these are great questions.
Yes, sir.
I really do. I mean, really good questions, and I appreciate that because it's kind of making me go back and think about some stuff. Reflect on some things. Um, but no, I really appreciate this time. I mean, thank you for. I'm glad we ran into each other in Atlanta. Really glad I came down there and ran into you. And yeah, thank you for both of you guys. I mean,
I'm gonna
Beyonce, you
get
too.
your contact information because
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. Like I just I have all the interviews that we have, and I search your name and I started listening to the music, and it's
Mm,
live music. I love I love different
mm,
things, but I really
yeah,
love
yeah.
music, and I'm like
Oh,
I'm gonna have to get your contact after this
yes,
interview
sir.
Yeah,
for
we
Yeah,
real.
I'm trying to get down there. I'm trying to get down there this year. So
Oh, for
if
real?
you have anything, yeah, in Atlanta, you guys let me know. I'm trying
let's
to
set that up.
play
Okay.
down there. Yeah, yeah,
Yohance, you know everybody.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I do know a
You
bunch of
do.
people.
So
Yeah,
let's yeah.
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Matter of fact, we should do that. We should do like the Indie Unplugged showcase or something like that, where we have a bunch of artists performing.
No,
That's your
that'd
job.
be
Oh, that'd be
good.
cool.
Job right
Yeah.
I
there.
used to set shows
That's
up.
your job
So
right there, Yohance. We
hey,
gotta
Hey,
let's do it.
it's easy work.
Let's
let's
do
do it.
it.
I'm down. Let's
It's
do it.
light work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm down. I'm down. I'll come down for that for sure.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. We gotta get that. I got a couple artists in mind already that
Mhm.
we can put that together. A nice festival type.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, see?
Yeah.
Keep me in the loop. Keep me in the loop for sure, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So, JoDavi, how can people get in contact with you? How can they follow your journey?
They can go to jodavimusic.com. I also I mean, most of my stuff is right there. You can find me on that. I don't have a mailing list, but I have a Substack where sometimes I
Oh, I gotta
interview people, other times I write articles. Yeah, Substack. They can follow me on that. I mean, but yeah, jodavimusic.com is where you can get everything. Hey man. And yeah, that's how you can find me. JoDavi Music on all the socials. And my kids are, hey guys.
Hey, kids are
Hey,
precious
what's up?
though.
What's up?
Kids are precious though.
Yes, sir. That's how you can find me.
Perfect. Yeah, I got a Substack. I'm going to follow your Substack. We had to follow each other's
Yeah.
Substacks and cross promote. That's the terminology
Yeah,
on
cross
Substack.
promote. Yes.
We got to
Yep.
cross promote on Substack. So yeah. So man,
Yeah.
JoDavi, it's been a pleasure, brother.
Thank you.
And as we close out, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to another interview right here on the Indie Unplugged with myself, B. Vaughan,
Just Yohance.
and of course, our guest for tonight is JoDavi. Make sure you go check out his music. Make sure you go check out all of the bodies of work, right? Whether it's past, present, and future work that will be coming out. Make sure to connect, follow his journey. And we look forward to, all the things that JoDavi is going to be doing with Zion Academy of Music and Arts and all of just the different initiatives and ventures that he's a part of. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to the Indie Unplugged. We are out for tonight. Peace.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.